Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Johan Rousseau, the chairman of FIRA. We are inundated with telephone calls and requests on how we are going to treat this lockdown in terms of the funeral industry. Unfortunately, no one has taken responsibility to take that upon themselves, and FIRA wish to advise that we are prepared to take responsibility for our members. We will issue them a certificate which is available on WhatsApp on 072-852-5456. All paid up members or new members that want to join us is invited to contact us immediately. Let us explain why. The President stated that with a shutdown, all mortuaries will be operational. It's not defined whether a mortuary is a government mortuary or whether it's a funeral parlor. And that makes the funeral industry very nervous because we are under the impression when it's a mortuary, it is a government mortuary and a hospital mortuary that will handle all these matters on behalf of the funeral industry and on behalf of the public. Government does not have the capacity to manage these affairs, including the staff, including the knowledge how to run a funeral parlor effectively. We've got funeral parlors throughout South Africa, which is willing and capable to offer these services to the public. If it happens, as we've said, could happen, is if the government allows these things just to be under the sole control of the government mortuaries, we are sitting with a major problem that deceased people will not be collected with in time, because we already see that government is struggling to manage the amount of work at a government mortuary. We've seen media reports where a deceased is lying 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours at a crime scene. They can't remove the deceased. In that period of time, with being within summer, a deceased can become decomposed, which ultimately means there is going to be bodily fluids being extracted from the deceased because of blood, because of body fluids, because of everything. It could ultimately mean that this disease, the corona disease or tuberculosis or AIDS or Ebola or anything else could be spread much faster and at a much higher rate. The funeral parlors within our networks and ourselves are trained. They know exactly what to do. They've got the equipment, they've got the staff, they've got the management, they've got the power, they've got everything in place to assist government. Now, since government hasn't taken any responsibility in addressing these needs, after we've contacted Gwede Mantashe, we've contacted Zweli Mkhize, we've contacted all the political parties, which is on our WhatsApp, and we can say that as proof to the media and to the public. No one has taken responsibility. FIRA will take responsibility of its members. If they are fully paid up members, we will issue a certificate that they are compliant, that they are a member of a legitimate, recognized funeral association, and we will, in the event of a lockdown, on their behalf, then speak to the officials, because government do not realize that we are now facing a even worse disaster if the funeral parlors are locked down. 1, cemeteries won't work. 2, home affairs won't work. 3, insurance companies won't work. 4, that the clients can't be able to pay their premiums. So if a claim arises during this 21 days lockdown, what is going to happen to the client? Are they going to end up as a pauper? Is the insurance industry going to cover the cost? Because unfortunately, our members and the rest of the industry, and I'm not only talking about actual funeral members of FIRA, we're talking about the industry in total, all the associations that's involved, members and non-members of funeral associations have been affected. So how can we expect to transform and develop and assist the funeral industry if smaller funeral parlors, and I'm not referring to fly-by-nights, I'm talking about the emerging markets, small family-owned businesses, is going to be affected. Because for 3 weeks, they won't be able to generate the income. How are they going to pay their staff? How are they going to pay their rent? How are they going to pay their bond? How are they going to pay the vehicles, the equipment, their fuel, everything? We're asking this, and we're placing this in front of government because they've not taken any responsibility. And unfortunately, Mr. President, you do not know the funeral industry. and your advisors knows it even less. And your political heads do not know what they are doing, because otherwise we wouldn't have been in the situation that we are. We are pleading with you, Mr. President, to take corrective action and give the funeral industry the ability to assist you people. It's not only about FIRA members, it's the general funeral industry has been affected. Now, FIRA is prepared to take this matter head on. So if you would stop any of our paid up members, we will enter into a legal scenario whereby we will address these issues legally. Because you, Mr. President, and government will absolutely be in a position whereby you will be instrumental in spreading a disease, because we've sent the information through to your offices, we've requested proposals to be done, and we as FIRA will take full responsibility for our members. They are more than welcome to contact us via WhatsApp on 072 852 5456. We will issue them with a certificate. And if anyone, and we're saying that if anyone tries to duplicate this document, we will not take responsibility. We will act responsible, but we need our mortuaries to operate. We need the funeral parlors facilities to operate. We are in full support of the gesture of goodwill to try and prevent this disease from spreading. But it's not only the coronavirus. It's HIV/AIDS, as we've said, it's Ebola, it's hepatitis, it's tuberculosis. For the past 20 years, Mr. President, we've asked your government to act. They've done nothing up to date. And the health and environmental issues is even worse than the crisis that we are facing in terms of corona. We have just spoken to research companies. There's no standard in the world which we could align ourselves. We can tell you, Mr. President, that we are the only organization in the country that's got a research report reflecting onto the funeral industry of about 600 pages. We've created a national standard internally compiling of 45 pages, which is not even existing within government. And we said that we will assist government, we will guide government, we will support government. And we're more than willing to assist you with this scenario, with this crisis that we are facing. All that we're asking you, Mr. President, is to allow the funeral industry to operate in the way that they've done for many, many years. We're asking you, Mr. President, to exclude anyone except the funeral industry, because they're rendering an emergency and essential service, just as the security industry, just as a hospital, just as ambulance services, the police, the military, all those type of people, the medical staff. They are even doing more than what is expected from themselves. They're only rendering counseling services. They're rendering advice in terms of the legal. They're rendering much more than what you expect. And we will take responsibility of our members and any other member of the funeral industry which is in a desperate situation to get a certificate which we will agree and which we will approve and of which we will take responsibility. That could be handed out to the military, which could be handed out to the police should they stop our member, because they're not informed, they're not trained to take these actions against the funeral industry in terms of the law. And we could define the law, Mr. President, that the law defines that we're an essential service. So if you don't say that, we will take the responsibility thereof. As FIRA, we will take the responsibility to ensure that funeral parlors can operate their business, that suppliers could do their business, that insurance companies can do their business, and everyone within government could do their business, which impacts or affects the funeral industry. So we challenge everyone to say, and we're not trying to create havoc, we want to work with government, not against government. But if you, Mr. President, and your political leaders and your cabinet don't act, we need to act on behalf of our members, on behalf of the public, which has been affected by this virus. As a result of the government of the day not listening to our proposal, being opposed by people which do not do their homework, opposed by people that do not know what's the impact on our economy of the funeral industry, on our health and environmental systems. the judiciary, the Labour. I could just say, Mr. President, if you people are so concerned about staff, why don't we have a Labour court that looks at health and safety? It's not in place, Mr. President. So if you want to stop everyone, Mr. President, first get your house in order, because you are not well informed of what is happening within this industry. Funeral staff are not protected. Government mortuary and hospital staff, which you are managing, is not being protected. It's not up to standard, and we can show that to you. It's already been exposed in the media when we did a research report with the Daily Dispatch in the Eastern Cape. And that's why the unions always called for a strike, because government mortuary is ineffective. It's filthy, it's dirty, it's unhealthy. That's where disease is being spread, Mr. President. If you don't know, please go and visit your government mortuary in Diepkloof. Go and visit the one in Gale Street in Durban, Soutrivier, in the Cape. And go and acquaint yourself what's happening within your mortuaries before you're trying to impose laws onto the funeral industry through inspectors which are not trained, which there is no standards, Mr. President. And we urge you to act. We want to help you. We want to assist you. But we cannot tolerate that our members and the industry in general is being placed on a lockdown for the services that they render to your parliamentarians. We're taking companies like Kupane, B3, a lot of big companies is rendering services to politicians, of which you pay them. Now we ask you, if a parliamentarian or his family or a VIP passes away today, who's going to assist them? A government mortuary? Who's going to do the funeral, Mr. President? Are you going to leave that family for 3 weeks or a month? There's no difference between a VIP, between an average person of the public, or a pauper. We need to treat everyone equally. And we start with you, Mr. President. We start with the South African Constitution and your commitment to make business work. And as a result of what you are currently doing, and the negligence of your staff and your departments not reacting to our calls, not taking our telephone calls, not answering our WhatsApps, we need to ask whether this government, and it's the parliamentarians and the opposition parties, are really serious in assisting the public, in assisting the challenges that we are facing. And when we say that, Mr. President, the Oppenheimers and the Ruperts have made value available. The funeral industry needs some of that money to assist them to become to the standard where we are. And what we need them to do, we've spoken to small business development to assist the funeral industry. We've spoken to DTI. We've spoken to CEDAS. Mr. President, I want to give you your shock of your life. They don't even respond to our emails. What we are saying, Mr. President, to you and to your cabinet and to opposition parties, get a wake-up call, because you are going to be the direct cause of a disaster being spread in this country that we've never seen before. Please, be that as it may, every funeral parlour or any association that is willing and able to assist the funeral industry, to contact us. We can have a urgent telephone conference within the next 10 minutes if we need to contact me on 072-852-5456. And we urge the public to understand and to acknowledge the fact, including the media, that Parliament has failed the South African funeral industry and its total value chain. And also officials that's working for them, which is inundated. We've got a lot of good government officials. We've got a lot of good parliamentarians. We've got good government mortuary staff. And we can name them. We can name the guys that's been assisting us in the past week or so. But we need your assistance. We need your stamp of approval. We need it to be rubber stamped. But if you cannot do that, Mr. President, we will take control of our own industry. And if you want to challenge us, we will challenge each other in court. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.